everybody, AOG Gaming here, back with another video. We're doing Marvel Rivals today. Sorry for not the frequent uploaded videos, I've been busy. Anyway, Cloak and Dagger. I gotta say this is a Cloak and Dagger main. I don't like the devs right now. They do not know what the fuck they are doing. I'd say for the bigger picture, right? When it comes to each individual hero, I think they did it actually a pretty decent job at buffing and nerfing the specific heroes at what they do. I don't think they're fixing the triple support meta with this. In fact, so two things are going to happen, right? Let's just start the basis with this. They nerfed a lot of the healers, especially their ults, and they barely buffed them at all. Jeff was the only healer that didn't get touched. I will say he's probably the second most balanced healer. Mantis was the most balanced healer in my opinion, but they decided to nerf her. It's not a very big nerf. It's a very, very, very small nerf, and it only accounts for like if you're overhealing with her ultimate, which is like actually pretty common. So I don't know how it's just gonna make it you less tanky, I guess, if you're getting that extra health. But they pretty much shat on Cloak and Dagger. And I think they're having a biased opinion about this character just because the pick rate is so high. And there's a lot of reasons for that. So in this video, we're going to be breaking down the balances for supports, mostly Cloak and Dagger, but we're just going to be comparing them to the other supports. Maybe we'll talk about the other heroes, but that'll be if we have time at the end. So we're going to go into depth about the patch notes and how Cloak and Dagger works. We're going to be talking about why this character is picked so much and why she is why a lot of people are using her, right? Yes, she's easy to use, but we'll get to that in a second. And then we'll explain why half of her kit is pretty much useless 90% of the time. And that is the Cloak part. Yes, as a Cloak and main Dagger, you use Cloak like 10% of the time. And 10% of that time was when you had the ult, because you could stack healing to keep yourself alive and stack the damage. I think they've stopped only the healing stacking, so you can't get up to like, what was it? It was 230 times 4, so that's 800. That's 920 health per second if you stacked all 4 of the dashes within a little corner. The thing is, again, each trail, so I'm just explaining the ultimate now, because this is the biggest part about Cloak and Dagger. Each ultimate lasts 10 seconds, currently, before the patch update. It'll change to 8 seconds. And when I say each ultimate, each little dash that you do, because each dash is counted individually for the timer. It starts as soon as you start dashing, as soon as you start putting down the track, when you end it. That is the 10 seconds that you get as soon as you start it. And then as soon as you end it, you have a 1 second pause. And then you dash again. And the thing is, the camera was locked so that it would always be behind you, and you would just point in the direction you wanted to dash in, right? That's not going to happen anymore. This is how the ult is going to work now. Now, it only lasts 8 seconds per dash. Instead of a 1 second pause, so it's going to be, Magnetos are going to have to time their ults a lot better. They can't just, instantly activate it as soon as you go and then hit you, because that was the dumbest shit I've ever seen in this game. It was such a hard counter that it made it almost unfun to play against Magneto while you're using Cloak and Dagger, which should not be the case, right? You shouldn't have one character automatically counter yours just because that's the way the devs wanted the game to be, right? So I'm glad that they changed that. So now it's 0.67 seconds. So yeah, you can still get one shot. I think that's fine, but it makes it a lot harder to one shot you. They did increase the damage or the healing from 230 to 250 per second for the dash lanes. So I think if you're in a dome and Magneto tries to one-shot you, you can still live because it all activates instantly, right? You're getting healed every second, but as soon as you're hit by Magneto's ult, like the second the damage comes through, you're also healed. So I don't know how that's going to work. Maybe you can still be one-shot. If that's the case, then they've nerfed this character way too much. If that's not the case, then good. That means that the only way you can kill her is if she didn't put down a dome at the end of her ultimate. This is specifically, we're talking about during her ultimate, right? If she doesn't stack, or actually it doesn't matter now, if you're able to burst damage her, because now she's only healing 250 health per second, that's every character. She can't stack the healing anymore. I really hope you can still stack the dashing or the damage with the dashes, because again, that's the reason why you stay in Cloak during the ultimate. But also was the fact that you could stack the healing. You would like stack 2 heals and stack 2 damages and stay in the healing area with your teammates so that you could live while keeping melee / dive characters off of you, and then keeping the damage on the enemies while blinding them, and then just going into your cloak form and causing absolute havoc. So it's gonna be a lot harder to stay alive as Cloak and Dagger. So there's bullshit about them helping, what's his name, Tyrone last longer. The Cloak guy, that's his name, Tyrone. That was complete bullshit. He still has 250 health. His right click is still only a 1 charge ability on a long ass cooldown that takes you vertical, and that's it. I feel like they could have given him more movement on that right click, maybe 2 charges or something. But all in all, they've actually decreased the survivability of this character, which is not good, because this is a support character already with the lowest health in the game. And yeah, the heals are pretty good, but again, your positioning has to be great, and you have to not be targeted by... If you're targeted by more than 1 person, it's hard to stay alive by yourself. If you're targeted by 2 people, you're usually dead before your team can help you. That's even if they come help you. So yeah, this whole thing where they said, oh, we're just gonna nerf her ult but make it so Tyrone lasts longer, bullshit. Devs, fuck you. You pretty much made this character a lot easier to kill. Not Magneto. You did the opposite for that. So I applaud you for that. Magneto is going to have a harder time killing, one-shotting this character, which is great, because that was literally all people did. They saw Cloak and Dagger, oh yeah, let me just go Magneto, because I have my hand held by the devs. Now that's going to be a little bit harder, which I like. The Terror Cape, so the wall that you put out with Tyrone, the invulnerability wall, is from increase the damage percentage vulnerability from 20% to 28%. That is a big increase. That is a huge increase. That's almost a 30% damage buff to that wall. The thing is, the wall doesn't last very long. Your teammates have to be focusing, or the enemy team has to be low. So again, it's situational. Your positioning has to be good so you're not one-shot instantly. Because again, Hawkeye can one-shot you. Even freaking what's his name? Strange. Like, if Bucky pulls you in, Strange can like almost 2-tap you with his abilities if he has his dark magic basically meter filled up. So that's like my biggest gripe. Yes, Cloak and Dagger needed a nerf. I'm sorry, Cloak and Dagger mains, but we've been a menace for too long. Like the 53% pick rate or whatever it was, that's absolutely fucking dumb. And again, I think the reason why that is because this character is easy to use without her abilities. You gave her an auto aim on her main attack that not only bounces off walls but has an AoE healing. Like, how the fuck did you think the pick rate was gonna roll out if you have a healer that takes basically no skill to use her main attack? What the fuck did you think the pick rate was going to be? Especially if she has a ridiculous amount of healing. So yeah. Like, the buff that they give to her was great, but again, they didn't nerf her at all beforehand. Now it feels like they're nerfing her too much, and it feels like it's going to be a lot harder to survive with this character, which is already a problem. She has no mobility. All the DPS characters that are crying and bitching, complaining and moaning, y'all just skill issue, 100%. Because I can kill Cloak and Dagger pretty easily. That's what... Ask Scarlet Witch, too. It's so easy to kill Cloak and Dagger. It's so easy. And now it's going to be even easier. The only problem was when they were in their ults, right? That was like the hardest to kill. Maybe if they had a dome and they were being protected by their team. But even then, If Cloak and Dagger isn't being protected by their team, if they're in the back line too far, they're so easy to kill. They are so easy to kill now. And the problem was that they didn't buff Dagger or Cloak's damage at all. So even if the invulnerability wall technically makes you deal more damage, it's not going to help you that much. It's literally not going to help you. So again, they didn't do enough to buff Cloak, but they did too much to nerf Dagger in the wrong way. I feel like they should have nerfed her overall healing, not her ultimate healing, because again, Luna is the only invincible healer ultimate now. Yeah, you could say Mantis is, but like, you could still kill her pretty fast, right? You can stun her out of the thing, right? Because it's like a passive, her ultimate, like it creates an aura around her, but she can still attack and use her abilities, right? So like, I'm pretty sure you can stun her, and then she's just like weaker version of Luna, pretty much. So I don't know what they're thinking, because yeah, I know you guys want to get rid of the triple support meta, but nerfing it to the fucking ground is not what you should have done. Okay, Cloak and Dagger, you've nerfed her to the ground, so now I'd say this is probably the bottom 3 of the healers in the game. Maybe the pick rate is still pretty high, because here's the thing, right? The pick rate is gonna be high because 80% of your goddamn fucking player base is below platinum. And people who are below platinum, or like right around that area, like they're just reaching platinum, are barely learning how to deal with the micro interactions in the game in order to kill stuff. So the reason why the pick rate is so high is because people have no fucking skill in bronze, silver, or gold. I say that as somebody who was stuck in gold elo for so fucking long, with 40,000 plus heals on this character almost every game. And people are going to be like, oh, but it's not about the heals or statistics. Yeah, if I, as a support, am SVP, have more kills, less deaths, more assists, more damage blocked, and still have the fucking highest healing on my team, yeah, it's definitely not my fault that we lost. But again, I just kind of take those with a grain of salt, because the match making in this game is you either get like top 500 teammates or you get bronze teammates, no matter which rank you're in. I don't understand how that works. Honestly, I think the queuing in this game is just absolute dog shit. But it's fast, you get in the game quick, and you get to play the game, so we can't really complain, can we? Yeah, I think that's all I really have to say about Cloak and Dagger. Again, I think they should have made her not have auto aim on her main attack that also is an AoE and bounces off of fucking walls, so you can just hide behind. Like, that's the biggest thing I think about her that makes her ult really easy to charge, is the fact that you can no-brain the part of her kit that is 50% of the healing she will apply, which is the dagger she's throwing, is the part of her kit that is so easy to use it takes literally no skill. And that is why she has a big pick rate. There's only there's like a lot of abilities that are auto aim, but none of them are main attacks that have bounce and AoE. Like that just blows my mind that they were like thinking of nerfing the ultimate when the ultimate isn't the best part about this character. It's just the sustainability, right? Because yeah, Luna can keep you alive or whatever, but like, if Luna doesn't have her bottom ability and you rush her, and you can kill her pretty fast, and there's not much she can do to protect herself, right, Luna? Like, she kind of has to hide behind the tank. She kind of has to be either backline, like running away. Luna has pretty much no protection. Cloak and Dagger can heal herself with her main attack because it's AoE. She can heal herself with her dome. She can escape with her right click, and then come back, also throw down a dome through the wall so that the enemies are now blind, so now they don't know where the fuck you are, and you can heal your team while also... Here's the thing, you can deal damage with her left click on the enemy and heal your own team. I know every Cloak and main Dagger out there hates me for just saying all our secrets. But that's how broken she was. The thing is, they gotta they just gotta nerf her healing on her left click, and they could have increased the damage, so that at least you get a bigger trade-off when you're hitting the enemies with the dagger, so you're still able to heal even if it's less, but you're at least contributing more, right, to hitting them, not just thinking them once in a while to like maybe get that 10 or 15. I don't even know how much damage her right or left click does. All I know is that it's minuscule. So yeah, like they could have done that, and I feel like that would have been a much better mechanical fix, because it would have meant that the pick rate would have been a lot less and lower ranks, and that's mainly where the highest pick rate is, right? In bronze and silver and gold, because people don't know how to play the game in those ranks, or at least most people don't know how to play the game in those ranks. So it became really easy to use this character, so why wouldn't it have a high pick rate? See, that's the problem, right? The devs aren't using logic, they're using player feedback. And player feedback is bitching, complaining, egotistical little babies. That's all we have, right? They don't actually... most people, right? There's probably about 20% of the player base, which again is basically diamond and above, that actually knows what the fuck they're talking about. Which makes sense, because one, they have bans, and two, they're high enough where you actually gotta start learning how to play the game, and not just spamming your abilities, because that's how the game works in lower elo. So yeah, devs, thank you for listening to the people who actually know what they're talking about. You did a little bit too much listening to the community though, because nerfing the healers to the ground is not what you should do. Just listen to this. Alright, so before we move on though, so you can't stack the healing of the lanes anymore, so it's only up to 250 seconds. So now you can get burst damage of the ults really easily. That includes anybody on your fucking team. So now you want to use the Cloak and Dagger ult very defensively, or in conjunction with another support ult, because now it's useless by itself. It is literally fucking useless by itself when you can one-shot with Hawkeye, when you can one-shot with Magneto, when you can one-shot with Iron Man, because the health that it's healing is literally as much as support's health at maximum. 250. Which again, they've built so many fucking characters into this game that can already do that much damage within 1 or 2 seconds. I mean, within a second. Which is just barely enough time for that ult to do anything. So, honestly, they could have increased the healing a little bit more. I would say 300 healing per second is completely fine. Like, that would have been perfectly fine. That would have been the great buff to her ult, while also being a nerf, where now it's only about, what, 8 plus, yeah, it's about 11, 12 seconds. So her ultimate now, instead of being 14 seconds, it was about 2 seconds longer than Luna's, because of the pauses she did in between each dash. Now those pauses are less, which is good for stopping Magneto, just brain deading his ultimate on you. But it also means that her ultimate technically lasts not as long. So you do have to keep that in mind. It says that the healing is the only thing that no longer stacks though, so hopefully the damage still stacks. It means that Tyrone is now going to be, or Dagger is now going to actually be viable. Once you land the ultimate, you can do that, and it just means that you're going to have to be very careful about using Cloak. Because with her ultimate, Dagger can keep herself alive. With the ultimate down, Cloak can no longer keep himself alive. He will be able to be burst damaged so easily. But again, we have to see how that tech works, right? Because maybe it's just barely enough healing that they've done the calculations and math that it's just enough to keep this character alive. Alright, we're done with Cloak and Dagger. That was 20 minutes of Cloak and Dagger. I was talking about how they nerfed this character 50% and only buffed it 40%, I would say. Because their ultimate cost has increased from 3,400 to 4,000. So that is literally almost a 20% decrease in cost. It's a little bit less, which is actually fine. But here's my problem with them nerfing Cloak and Dagger's ult. They didn't do it for Moon Knight. Moon Knight still built his fucking ult in 7 seconds. Moon Knight's ult still does 150 damage per talent. Now, it should be easier to escape his ult, but we don't know that because we haven't seen it in action yet. They still left the double damage, so yeah. I don't understand. I know that the triple support meta was very oppressive, but if you're gonna buff the things that are directly countering the support meta while also nerfing the support meta, you're just killing the support meta. So now Marvel Rivals has become like every other fucking hero shooter / FPS game out there where they nerf the game to whatever characters they're releasing so that people will pay for their skins and play those characters and keep the game relevant. So instead of actually trying to create a balanced and cohesive game, they're instead just nerfing it to whatever the new characters they're releasing so that they can become the meta. Which is sad. It's just sad. Like, the meta shouldn't be changing like that. Not as drastic as that. And mark my words, it's going to be one of the two. Either the support meta stays because it requires higher skill ceiling, and because it requires higher skill ceiling, the moments where it's used are actually super impactful, and they're able to turn tides of games a lot faster, but a lot less frequently, which I think is great for the health of the game, right? We got Storm, who can build her ult in less than fucking 10 seconds. We got Moon Knight, who can build his ult in less than 10 seconds. So, it's a DPS meta now. It's a tank dive DPS meta now. Because they decided to buff every fucking DPS out there pretty much, which is insane. I'm going to go over just very quickly all the other supports that they nerfed. This is a special mention. Jeff didn't get touched. Great. I think he's hard enough to play as he is, and if you're very good with him, he's very oppressive, which is how characters should work, right? You should be able to effectively use a character to actually be good with them if your skill is good with them. And I've been playing a little bit of Jeff. He's actually very fun to play, but he is very hard to use, I gotta say. Especially as ult, bro. People are just waiting for you when you use that. Luna Snow, or sorry, Adam Warlock. Now this is where the actual buffs come in. They buffed him, so his damage fall off is fire damage increase from 55 to 60% damage fall off at 40 meters. So that's insane. 40 meters, I don't know if you know, that's like, I don't want to say a quarter of the map, but that is a lot of distance. If you don't understand what that means, that is 120 feet. From your character model, that is literally like if they were in spawn and like you guys are just starting the match and you're like in the little corner that's like, I don't know. Yeah, like you know, you guys know what I'm talking about. This is insane. Adam Warlock is pretty much going to be a backline DPS now. They also increased his soulbound healing from 10 per second to 15 per second. That's great. He is like the worst healer in the game, so literally he has no heals except for one ability, so that's good. Luna Snow, they increased their ult cost from 4,000 to 4,500, so it's a 20% decrease in ultimate charges, so that's insane. Loki's ult also takes longer from 3,400 to 4,000, so again, almost 20% right there, a little bit less, so actually Loki is fine. They increase his ammo from 10 to 12 though, so I think that's a fine, like, you know, balance. Again, Luna is still going to be the only invincible healer because she has the scroll wheel thing method you can do, and there's a way to bug out her ultimate every time. Here's the interesting one. They nerfed Mantis. Bonus HP from her ultimate has been reduced from 100 to 75. So she like overheals you with her ultimate. I felt like she was perfectly fine balanced. Maybe this is them seeing it in like testing and seeing that Mantis being picked more than Jeff or Adam Warlock. and that's why they decided to nerf her. They didn't directly nerf her ultimate itself, but they nerfed the bonus that the ultimate gives, which is fine. It's only 25. That's literally one hit, people. It's just makes it the difference, right? So it means that if the enemy team is able to hit that one extra shot, then yeah, they're skilled enough to kill you. That's what they mean. Invisible Woman ultimate cost increased from 4,000 to 4,300. I don't think they needed much changes with her. I will say, as far as supports go or strategies, Invisible Woman was pretty well balanced. The ultimate was pretty broken, I will say. So it's nice that they gave her pretty much a 9% decrease buff. I feel like they did a lot more nerfing for every other support, especially Cloak and Dagger. I guess it's just because of the pick rate. They just went by pick rate. But again, that shouldn't be what you base your nerfs and buffs on. Because pick rate just means how easy is it to use the character. So what you should do is make the abilities harder to use, not nerf the abilities so that they're not just harder to use, but they're almost useless for most elos. You see what I'm saying? Because Cloak and Dagger was a very casual healer, probably it was the most picked rate healer. But I mean, it was the most easiest and casual healer to pick up because they have their escape, but they just deal so much sustain, and Dagger herself can survive pretty long. Plus the fact that you have the damage from Cloak just to like help your team. So I feel like Cloak was so easy to play that they really didn't focus on that. They just focused on the fact that people were able to build her ults pretty fast, which again isn't specifically what you should nerf about characters, except for Moon Knight and Storm. They should not be able to get, like, they already do basically insta-kill with their support, with their ultimates. Moon Knight stays there after he dies, which is the dumbest shit I've ever seen. Like, if you're dead, your ult should not exist. That's what happens with Cloak and Dagger. Why is it that when I get fucking killed as a Cloak and Dagger, my ult goes away, but Moon Knight gets to keep his? Again, it makes no sense, right? They should have let you keep Cloak and Dagger's ult on the floor now, if they're gonna not let you stack the healing when you die. But maybe that just stops the Magneto thing. So again, there's like the balancing thing right there where like, yeah, but then Magneto isn't as good, which is not good because they already nerfed him as well. I'm not going to talk about really any other characters because again, I'm maining Cloak and Dagger. I will say this was needed. A nerf in general was needed. This big of a nerf, and in her ultimate specifically, I don't think so. Because they buffed her nerf in the last season, and that's what finally made her viable, which is why her pick rates skyrocketed. So nerfing the one thing that actually made her good, which was the thing that you buffed before, doesn't seem very intuitive. In fact, it seems counterintuitive. Why would you nerf something that you buffed because people are complaining about it and the pick rate is really high? What you should do is look at the kit of the character and understand fundamentally how the character works, then nerf those fundamentals, because those fundamentals are what is making the character very easily accessible to most people and also very easy to use, right? So I don't think the devs are being smart with this nerf, specifically for Cloak and Dagger. For all the other healers, I think it's fine. I really did think that, honestly, they should have just done that with Cloak and Dagger. They should have just given her like a 30% decrease in amount of ult charges she gets. They did do that. They gave her a 10% decrease, or less than 10% decrease in her ultimate cost charge, or increase, sorry, so it takes longer for her to get her ultimate. But again, if you're going to let DPSs do the same thing, like, it's not fair to the supports that can't basically, like, you're making it so that it's less fun to play a certain type of class, and that therefore makes the game less fun to play for those people, so why would they be playing that class anymore? So again, devs, it's just the DPSs who aren't actually good at the game complaining. That's why 80% of your player base is in bronze or lower. And yes, obviously there's the people who don't play ranked at all, but even then, ranked is a completely different game to the other. Like, the team play has to be almost immaculate most of the time. If you push too far, if you dive too deep, if you are too far in the back line, trust me, you will get absolutely destroyed because you are not playing pretty much on your team. Like, that is how hard ranked gets to a certain point. So yeah, it just like, it feels like they're increasing the skills level of healers while decreasing the skill level of everything else, which is not healthy at all whatsoever. And it's not even the skill ceiling itself of the healers that's decreasing, they're just decreasing the overall effectiveness of the healers. So it doesn't even matter if you're good with the healers anymore, they're just going to be worse overall. Which doesn't seem like it's good for the game in any way, shape, or form. Especially if you're already buffing every fucking character in the game that does damage, pretty much. Like, why not just do that? That's, like, here's the thing. When you buff damage dealers, you are indirectly nerfing healers. Because now their heals are technically less. So, when you're nerfing healers and buffing DPSs, it's a double whammy to the healers. So yeah, I think the devs are being too harsh on Cloak and Dagger because they don't understand what is broken with her. And again, yes, it was sustainability. I do agree that the ultimate was a little bit broken in that fact. But the fact that you can't stack heals anymore pretty much makes the healing on her ultimate half as good. Like, it pretty much makes her ultimate a third as good as Luna's. That's how bad this nerf is for Cloak and Dagger. Everything else, though, applaud you, devs, alright? You increased the vulnerability for the Terra Cape. I think the Terra Cape was fine, but honestly, this mix to the Cloak is a little bit more annoying to deal with, so that's good. Maybe you could have increased the ultimate's damage stacking if you were going to decrease the healing. Because here's the problem, right? They decreased the time duration, they made it so that you can no longer stack the heals. They took off the camera lock, so now you actually have to look at the direction you're dashing in. You can't just press Q and move in a certain direction and your camera will move with you. Or they made it curve. I don't know. I don't think it curves because I still see it go in a straight line. So pretty much they made this character a lot harder to use with their ultimate, but the fundamentals of the character are still the same. So pretty much they did nothing but made her ultimate less useful. Which wasn't the problem, right? It was the fact that she was getting the ultimate really fast, which was the worst part about it, right? So they could have just done that, decreased the ultimate recharge rate, and then maybe decrease the amount of healing it did, so you could still stack it to like maybe 500 healing per second instead of 800, which I would have been like, okay, that's fine. Because again, the reason why all the healers' ultimates are so good is because they stop the burst damage from instantly killing you. Now it doesn't matter with Cloak and Dagger. You can instantly burst damage her to death because she's not going to be healing enough for her to outdo that. So yeah, I don't know. The devs, I know I repeated myself a lot, but devs, please, don't listen to anybody who's not ranked Diamond 1 or above, because they don't know what the fuck they are talking about. They literally do not. They do not. Unless they're obviously smurfing or they haven't gone ranked at all. It's a little bit of a different story. And I meant not ranked at all on that account. They obviously have to have had played ranked in at least Diamond or above, because once you get to Diamond, the game fundamentally changes. Diamond 2, Diamond 1. Diamond 3 doesn't really matter, because you're not banning until all your team is Diamond. So, again, you should only be listening to the top 20% of the player base, because those casual players, it's a whole different game then. And if you guys want to keep the game healthy, you have to keep the competitive scene alive. The average player scene will always be there. It's fucking Marvel. There's literally billions of people on this planet who like superheroes, Marvel, DC, whatever. You're never going to have a shortage of those people. The problem is the competitive scene, and I think that's where they are completely ignoring this character. They are just saying, fuck competitive scene. We're gonna look at the overall stats, which is not good because 80% of the player base is not higher elo ranked to the point where it actually makes sense to talk about ranked. So what ends up happening is you get the casual experience being a lot more balanced, but the competitive experience being a lot more skewed and meta heavy. Which is going to happen. Either that or the support meta still stays. So, yeah. I don't like the devs very much right now, but hey. Hopefully within 2 days they roll back some of the nerfs on this character, because honestly I think that they nerfed her way too much. However, that's why I said I think, and I didn't say I know, because we haven't seen this character in gameplay. I haven't played this character in gameplay, so we shall see. Anyway, thank you all for watching. As always, AOG Gaming here. If you're enjoying the content, please like and subscribe. Really shows your support. Helps me out considering my content. Yeah, like, there's nothing much else to say. They nerfed her too much and they buffed. Like, they specifically said in the fucking patch notes that they were going to make Cloak better survivability. They did nothing for the fucking survivability. They gave him a damage boost. That is not survivability. Not in the slightest fucking bit. So, yes, I love that you buffed Cloak's damage. I agree that Cloak needed a buff to his damage. Not just the wall. I would have liked his left click to maybe have a 20 damage increase per second. But, it is what it is. They didn't actually increase Cloak's survivability. You still have 250 fucking health. So, yeah, and again, they made it worse, because what you would do is you would go Cloak while stacking a few of those dash heals, or just like, you know, moving around them so that sometimes you would get extra heals. The problem is that the heals don't stack anymore, and yes, it's your whole life per second, but it doesn't matter when burst damage is a thing, or when you can just get headshot by fucking Hawkeye and killed instantly. So, yeah, I don't know what they were thinking when they said they were going to increase the survivability of this character, because they did the complete opposite. They made this character a lot easier to kill. The only survivability is against Magneto, and even then, that was like, who actually gives a fuck about Magneto? As a Cloak and Dagger player, yes, it was annoying to play against Magneto every time he would save his ults for mine, but it was easy to, like, just use my ults when we were near a building, and then use my dash to go inside as soon as I heard him use his ultimate, and then I would be completely fine. He would just have to look elsewhere. So, again, or I would just go into Cloak form after using my ultimate, and then see him do nothing. Because sometimes that happens, right? They let you wait for you to use your ult, and then kill you so that your ult doesn't have the full uptime. So yeah, I guess it made you better against Magneto, but that literally doesn't fucking matter when everything else in the game can still burst damage you to death pretty easily. Yeah, devs, bad job on Cloak and Dagger. I'd say it's like a 50-50. Actually, you did justice to some parts, and you completely butchered the other half. Because you don't understand how this character works, apparently. Even though you created this character and it's your own game. Because going back on balances that you've already made just goes to show that you don't actually know what's wrong with the character and why it's so favored and high pick rate. It just goes to show that you are simply just listening to words of people who don't know what the fuck they're talking about, and then balancing according to that. Because you're rolling back the buffs, pretty much. Yeah, it's not you're not taking away the dash, but you're basically making it so that it's similar to what it was before, in the fact that it's less healing and well, I guess the damage will be the same, but it'll be less healing overall, which is what it was before, right? You could only stack it 3 times, so it was 600 and something health per second, and you had less area coverage. So now it'll pretty much be more area coverage, because you don't want to stack them as easily unless you're going for damage, and it'll be less if the damage still stacks, because I don't know if it'll be bugged or whatever they're doing with that. So yeah, Cloak and Dagger main, I'm sorry, the devs don't like us, because they don't know how our character works, which is sad, because it's not that hard to understand how this character works. It's literally one of the goddamn easiest healers to use. Like, they created their own game and they don't even know how their own characters work. Like, wow. Way to go, devs.